I'm Brent Leary.
Wow, you are varying it every single time now. And I'm just trying to keep up here. I'm Paul Greenberg. Keeping up with the Learys.
Anyway, we are the CRM players. And in case you haven't heard, we've been doing this and bringing this since 2009, whatever this is or as is.
As
Yeah,
is.
as is.
Oh, get it. We're
As
doing
is. We've
as
been bringing
is.
as is since 2009. That sounds so far, far away.
It's 15 years. As of yesterday.
Yesterday. Yeah, wow, that's right.
Yeah, as of yesterday, it's 15 years.
It's documented.
That's right. Happy anniversary.
No, I would do it like the Flintstones. Oh, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Wait a minute. We can't be doing this without our moment of Sven at the beginning. What has Sven like forsaken us?
I don't know. I'm crushed when he doesn't come by and leave a language for us to guess.
Or leave a language for you to guess.
I'm way better at that than I am at Stump the Godfather, that's for sure.
Oh, I think I have a good feeling that this week's Stump the Godfather, you have a
listen, literally, unless it involves Juan Soto and the Yankees, I don't know the answer.
Okay, well, then
and if it involves Juan Soto and the Yankees, I probably still don't know the answer.
Okay, well, I have no retort for that other than it doesn't. Oh, wait a minute. We have a moment sighting. And now we enter the moment of Sven.
Okay, I'm going with Hungarian.
There is a lot of stuff in that one. Like
I'm going with Hungarian.
A lot of little symbols, a lot of accents. I don't even know what that thing is over the Z and BRZE.
I
don't know.
It's a reverse carrot of some kind.
Oh, by the way, Sven wants to go on the record saying that he wasn't late. LinkedIn was late.
Bad
LinkedIn.
Nasty.
Bad LinkedIn. Anyway, so let me put that back up.
I'm guessing Hungarian here. I'm not 100% sold on it, but there's there's enough in it to make me think it might be.
Looks like
if it's not Hungarian. Maybe it's Croatian or Serbian or something like that.
30 pieces of
hold on, let me think.
He's already put the answer in, by the way.
Oh yeah, where I don't see it, so I'm not looking. Oh, it is Croatian. My second choice was right.
What if the Earth rotated 30 times faster? We would have a CRM Playaz session every day. Does this tickle you?
He's back into the tickling.
We gotta get him out of the tickling thing.
It's tickling the fancy. He means, which is a different version.
Tickling the ivories?
No. Tickling means. Doesn't that make you gigglingly happy?
Gigglingly happy?
Well, it's kind of a high-pitched happiness version there.
Wow, boy.
Think of when somebody who's actually susceptible to tickling, which I'm literally not, how they laugh. They don't really laugh. They just kind of giggle. That's what tickling means also when it comes to that.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go on for the record and just say I was not ready for tickling in any language, let alone Croatian. But thanks, Sven.
At least I came in second on it. I got second. Was my second choice.
Well, that counts. We'll see if you can carry over that luck into the real, real deal here. Anyway, yes, we are the CRM Playaz. It's actually kind of nice out there for the moment in Atlanta, at least. So I'm not complaining.
We're overcast, but nice and warm here, man. I went outside and I was just wearing my t-shirt and I wasn't cold.
Wow, that's nice.
Notice what I'm wearing today.
Oh, that's nice. The merch. Got to get into that merch. Thank you, Sven. Last time with the we know what the rest of that spells. Yes.
Last time with the T word.
We appreciate that, Sven. We really do. Anyway, so yeah, is this the last It is the last Thursday of the month, right? Already?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Luckily, we have another Wednesday coming because otherwise I've just finished 2 shows.
Okay.
We got Talking Headless next week, and I've got Engage with Paul and Kenny. Interesting lineup too, different than usual.
Don't hold out on us. Let us know.
Yeah, what a lead-in.
Yeah, this is a good promo time for.
As those of you who have ever listened to Talking Headless, which is both of you, right? By the way, when I say both of you, I'm kind of including me, right? Not even including you, Brent. So, so it's I normally don't have a guest. Well, this time I have a guest, and it is the estimable Scott Nelson, who's a very senior program director, manager. He runs all the like major Gartner programs. He runs Gartner's programs for CRM, for CX, for ERP, for AI. He literally owns those programs. All the analysts report to him.
Is there an acronym that he doesn't own?
No, probably not.
Wait a minute. Can I go back? Did you call him the estimable?
Estimable.
I thought it was like inestimable.
Well, they both mean this kind of estimable means he's esteemed, not estimated, right? The estimable, but there's the inestimable, meaning it's kind of means the same thing, really.
I think that's what Esteban called Alan Berkson on.
Inestimable or estimable?
One of them. I think it was or was it inimitable?
There's inimitable. That's different.
Maybe that's it. I don't know. There's a lot of
inimitable means like sort of determined and focused and
yeah, that ain't Alan.
Bulldoggy.
I'll go with the other one.
Bulldog.
Yeah, I'll go with bulldoggy. Alan is a bulldog. Yeah,
he definitely is that. And so inimitable would work with Alan. It's sort of a elegant version of bulldog.
Yeah, but did you know Jeremiah was a bullfrog?
He wasn't a good friend of mine. Did not know him. So I know Jeremiah Oyang, and he's not a bullfrog. So Talking Headless is going to have Scott Nelson as our guest, and we're not going to talk about individual companies because literally he's not allowed to. Gartner would have to clear through legal. So we are going to talk about what it takes to manage analysts, man, and why they're so difficult. Right?
I thought analysts were like the salt of the earth.
They are. Just imagine salt in your eyes, though. Right. So that's more like that kind of earth, salt in your earth. And then on EWPK, speaking of Alan Berkson, Kenny and I actually have a Broadway edition with starring Amanda and Olivia Berkson, Alan's twin daughters, who have launched their first Broadway sort of not really a musical, but it's what they call a song cycle, which is a musical without kind of what they call the book being, the story.
I thought you were getting ready to tell me
it was a full-blown story with text and everything else. But this is, and we're going to talk about the song cycle, which they've already done their preview of, and it went very well. And we're going to talk about what it's like to be young and coming up and trying to make it on Broadway, right? Which will be brand new. And we hope we'll have one of the songs we'll show video of one of the songs from the song cycle. So I'm really excited about that one. That's, culture in Broadway and young people coming up and trying to make it there. It's a big deal.
Let me know when somebody does a musical without music. That would be cool. That would be interesting.
That would just be a call. No, that would just be an O.
That's what I felt, an O after hearing that.
An O.
Well, that's cool. So that's all next week.
Yeah, next week, noon on Wednesday for Talking Headless, 7 p.m. Eastern time in both cases, 7 p.m. Wednesday for Engage with Paul and Kenny.
Okay, that sounds interesting. So a lot of earnings stuff came out this week, a lot of calls.
None of them related to me. I didn't earn a dime.
Well, okay. Some of them didn't either. Let's put it like that. But I like to dig in. I like to check out some of the transcripts.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of time to do it this this week, but I did look at one, and just a brief look, just for like something that really stood out to me. And it's kind of something that I've been doing for a while, but I'm gonna take it to another level a little bit down the line, a little bit down the road, but just a little sneak peek. Um, so this is something I saw in a in one of these transcripts. Oh, let me do this. I'm covering up the goods. So,
And what might digging in the scripts be?
well, it's funny you should ask that, considering there's a big logo at the side of it. Well, I just had this idea, and it kind of stems from two things. It stems from me being a college DJ, and this is back, in the 80s and the 90s. There's, yes, the Stone Ages, and back before there was iPods and Spotify and all that. When you wanted to DJ something, you actually had to pull out these, they call them these things, they called the turntables, and you had to have two turntables, and these things are rather large and heavy, and in between the turntables you would have this thing they called a mixer. And if you were a DJ, you would have to have two turntables, and you would have to have a mixer. But all of that would be, nonsense if you didn't have records. This thing that they used to call records. They were like vinyl plates, folks. All the kids that are under the age of 30. That's so no. So we used to have to, now get this. This is the most ridiculous part of this. We would actually have to load up the turntables and the speakers, put them in our cars. But then, in order to play music at the venue we were going to, we would have to transport like 500-600 little albums or 12-inch remixes, but they were all vinyl. So in order to put them and transport them, we used to have to go, either find boxes or crates. And this was back in the day where you could actually see milk crates where, the milkmen used to deliver, yeah. So they used to have crates and to put their jars in. So, and these milk crates made great transport systems for your vinyl. So we would actually load up all our vinyl. We would actually go hunting around to see if any, I don't know if this is legal or not, but any milk crates that were just laying out, they looked like they were just unused, they're just laying out, we would, confiscate them. And then
milk crates.
Hey, those milk crates, I never even went into a store to find out how much they made, because they just all seem to be just laying there, just not being used. So anyway, we would get these milk crates, and we would put all of our songs in, and then we would transport them along with the turntables and the mixer to the party. But when we got all our stuff hooked up, we would start playing music, and people would start dancing, and people would start having a good time. And you wanted to make sure you kept everybody dancing and have a good time. So you would have to figure out the songs to play that work with the other song that's already playing. You would have to go to these crates and look feverishly, because you only had like 3 minutes before the song ran out. So you had to find the right song to play. So you would have to dig into the crates to find the gold, to put the right song on the other turntable, play it with the other song, mix them together, and you had to keep continually doing that. All right, I know that took way too long to talk about, but the reason why digging in the crates is something that is a big part of a DJ's life. I still kind of do that, but now it's digitally, and it's not just for songs. All these transcripts from all these conferences and earnings calls, there's a service like Seeking Alpha that makes them all available to you. So you get a chance to actually look at an earnings call transcript and try to look for something really interesting, a nugget that stands out that you can kind of talk about, and maybe something that most people aren't focusing in on because there's other things to focus on. This is something that really kind of grabs my attention. So I'm going to start doing something. I don't know exactly when, but I'm calling it digging in the scripts, because it's not music. I'm digging into the transcripts now, and thank God I don't have to like lift anything to do this. It's a really good thing. So it is going to be a little different kind of presentation. You'll see it, but I just thought just this week I wanted to do something because I just took a quick look at a very recent earnings call, and I saw this quote. We now have 3 workflow businesses over 1 billion in ACV. Now I know you probably know this. That's why this is not the Stump the Godfather question. But can you want to take a guess who said that?
I actually don't know for sure.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's obviously a company that has more than $1 billion in revenue. That's for sure. Right. I figured that part out.
But all right, can I give you a hint?
Yeah.
Big hint is workflow businesses.
Now I know I'm thinking of that, and I'm thinking, of course, if I'm thinking workflow, there's a lot like ServiceNow would be one, obviously, that I would think of. Yep, there you go.
Now, that's right. So Bill McDermott. That was like, wow, they got 3 $1 billion businesses now.
Again, those guys still. I was talking about them to somebody this morning. They are, to me, the world's largest unicorns still. I mean, when they only had ITSM, which was only 5 years ago, they were a $1 billion business, period. Now, with their run rate, it's like 9 billion, something along those lines. That's 5 years later. And to Bill McDermott's credit, he's done a great job as ServiceNow CEO. He really has.
I mean, 3 different business units now that are producing $1 billion.
Shocked.
That's and then there's some other stats. When I start doing the actual digging in this, I'm going to dig in. I'm going to go deep into a lot of this stuff. But this one just stood out because, like you used to say, you started advising them when they were a mere $2.8 billion.
Yep, back in their days when they were just a mere babe. Babies.
Oh my, have they grown?
Yeah, I really like that company. I still do, because they grow smart. They don't grow to grow. They grow to accomplish, I guess is the best way to put it. They grow because they know, and when they put the time and effort into it, and there's occasional things where they glitch, but when they put the time and effort into it, their growth is very effective because they pay attention to the technology. And the thing is, they come from, as much as ITSM ultimately ended up being oddly, even though it was their cash cow, was limitation on their business after a little while. It's the reason that they grow effectively too, because they were dealing with technology and workflow, right? That they're an ops company. They always used to say that. When I first met them, they said something really significant, which is, we're not a customer service operation. We're not a customer service operations company. We're not a service operations company. Wait, how do they put? No, let me rephrase it. We're not a customer service company. We're a service operations company, right? And they actually put it. It sounded a little better than that. But the reality was, they were always focused on workflows and process and making things work from the standpoint of being effective. And once they tied CX to that, they took off.
Yeah, they've been really. It almost feels like, though, when McDermott came on board, that's when they really took off. I mean, I forget the Donahoe, I think, was the previous
John
CEO.
Donahoe. Yep,
and he went off to Nike, didn't he, or something like that?
Still there,
still there. But yeah, Bill McDermott came in and is like, all right, it's time to move. It's time to just launch. What is Alan Berkson saying? Always love a good mix for DITS.
What's DITS?
I don't know. What the heck? Can you connect 2 companies we wouldn't normally put together?
I have no idea what that even means. Alan, what does that mean?
Always love a good mix. Well, I know the good mix, but I don't know what for DITS means.
I don't. DIT with a capital S.
I'm sure. Oh, dig it into scripts. Wow, he's already coming up with the acronym. All right, Alan. Okay, that took me a minute.
In the scripts. Holy
yeah, and I like DITS.
Yeah, I don't think I do. I don't think that really is going to be a good way to signal. Hi, well, you're a DITS.
Welcome to welcome you DITS.
Welcome. This is Brent Leary. I'm a DITS. I'm the head of. That is not going to work.
Alan, thanks for the thought.
Right.
I don't know if that one's going to work. But yeah, well, I'll take that. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know if it'll be later this quarter or maybe the start of next quarter. But yeah, look out for Dix.
Look out for this. Yeah,
Look out for
most people
digging
say
in the
I
shirt.
am. I don't want to get hit by a random car. Right, I don't
Oh
think
boy, I actually really thoroughly enjoyed that. All right, so I wanted to play a clip because you're going to have a lot of shows next week. I actually had some really back to back yesterday. I called it the a few good minutes double header. Um, and the first one with Koopa. I always make sure. I want to make sure Koopa. I think that's how she wanted me to pronounce it.
Koopa.
Koopa from Zoho. She's the global head of Zoho for startups. Had a great conversation with her, and I got some clips I want to play eventually, but I haven't pulled them out yet from that conversation. And then I also spoke yesterday afternoon to our mutual friend Don Sherman, and he was coming on to talk about Pega's new news around their knowledge buddy, their new generative AI knowledge buddy that helps people within an enterprise have access to all this data in a way that allows them to get answers and understand what's going on with all that's going on in the enterprise. Really cool stuff. But I wanted to play this clip because he actually broke down RAG in a way that I just thought was really easy to understand, and actually even put something in there
That was
that
really
I
funny.
didn't expect to go in there, but it was fun. So this is Don Sherman talking about their new knowledge buddy, but actually really talking about how they're using RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, to keep a hallucination out of the responses that come back when people use the knowledge buddy. So here's Don.
Retrieval augmented generation does is it takes a different approach. It doesn't use Gen AI as a knowledge engine. It uses it as a language synthesis engine. We take with Knowledge Buddy your enterprise content. So you have a website of help documents. You point at Knowledge Buddy at that. It takes that content and it indexes it into a format called a vector database. Think of this as a database that has little chunks of content where it understands the semantic relationships between things. It would understand that patriots and football are words that are related, even though there's nothing in the dictionary that would tell you those words would be connected. In fact, there's nothing in the previous Patriots season that would tell you that. But it builds that vector store of information. And then when you ask it a question, the first thing it does is it goes to that vector database and it pulls all of the relevant chunks of content that might contain an answer to that question. And then it writes a prompt to GPT where it says, here's my question. That approach can, one, answer based on whatever content you have, and it doesn't hallucinate, because if it can't find an answer, it doesn't know. It can always tell you how it got the answer, because you know the list of content that you gave it. So you could actually point it back to the source. Where did the question come from? And if you need to update your content, you just put new information in the vector database. You don't need to retrain the model. So you can always keep the information up to date. We've basically built that infrastructure for you. And then we've put in all these enterprise controls so you can update content, audit who's using it, create security controls for who can see what kinds of information.
That was such a great explanation of what RAG is. I mean, we've had Michael Wu who gave us our first really good explanation of that last year, but it's like Don was able to kind of build on it and talk about it a little bit more context of what they're doing with it.
Yeah, well, actually, and it also kind of reflects the evolution of RAG. And I mean, you take it from when Michael was positing, it wasn't actually being implemented, right? I mean, Pros was, but not that many companies were doing anything. And then, of course, Dreamforce ratcheted it up with the trust layer in Salesforce.
Yep.
And now you can see it's evolved and matured in the space of literally a year, where it's becoming a standard for at least enterprise level AI, right? So it's fascinating to me that it's gotten that mature that quickly.
You know what else is fascinating?
No. I mean, I do.
It would help if this would work.
And
yeah.
now it's time for Stump the Godfather with the venerable Paul Greenberg. Brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics
Inestimable.
365 Copilot.
You know what?
The inimitable.
I just never get tired of Benny Hill.
No, it's hard to, but that's where I wish this whole thing would stop.
2024, and I can't help but move a little bit whenever I hear that music, man.
Well, you know what? I always, whenever that music plays, I see Benny Hill running through the trees, right? Running through the trees. I still, that clip with that music is stuck in my head since the Benny Hill show.
Okay, well, it's a hard transition for me to make on that one, but welcome to Stump the Godfather. I'm all tongue-tied over Benny Hill. Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot. I think I have a really good one, but then again, I always think I have a really good one.
Yeah, it's probably misspelled and from a disreputable source. Right.
And on that cheery
and
note,
the answer is already there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I've synthesized all the mistakes into one clip.
He's taking all the fun out of this, but I'm still doing it, folks. Stump the Godfather question of the week. It is expected that there will be blank billion network devices in 2024. Blank billion.
I'm assuming across the globe, correct?
It just says blank billion network devices. There are no qualifiers.
Well, then again, there is no particular globe issue. It's only the origination point would be where it would come from. Where it would matter.
I take this time to say hello to our guest because he's in the green room. I see you.
Hey, Mike.
We'll see you. Yeah. And you have to stand back. And if you want to enter, please let us know. There's a little private chat. If you want to take a guess at how many network devices there will be in 2024, according to a reputable source. I only give my source after because I don't want anybody trying to look it up. So Mike, feel free to put a guess in and we'll let everybody else know what your guess is. Alan is saying 15 billion. And anybody else out there that wants to get a guess in, it is expected that there will be blank billion network devices in 2024. Oh, I think our guest has put a guess in.
He does.
His guess is, wow, 150 billion. He is going deep. He's going big on that one.
I'm closer to him than I am to Alan on this one.
Okay, well, let's see. We'll go once. We'll go twice. I'm not seeing any other guesses coming in. So the venerable Paul Greenberg, your guess is
120 billion.
120. Oh, wait a minute. We got one guess. Let me put hers up. Janelle Dickerson, 18 billion. Okay, so she's closer to Alan. You're closer to Mike. So we've got 15, 18. What'd you say again?
Wait a minute. I'm stepping.
Wait a minute. No, you already said something.
No, I'm stepping back. I just realized there are only 8 billion people on the planet. Right.
Wait a minute. But you first said 130.
You know what? No, I said 120, but
120 billion.
I'm going to step it down, but not that much.
Okay.
I'm going to step it down to 90.
All right. Well, that's
because I'm assuming network devices like at companies having Ethernet and things like that. So
you know what? You always read too much into the question.
No, I have no idea where these come from. So if this comes from Cisco, that's one thing, and if this comes from PC Week, that's a PC Magazine, that's another, and if this comes from Network Engineering News, that's a third.
Yeah, Janelle, you have got it right. There's so much Price is Right strategy going on here. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
So we got Alan.
Here's the thing, Janelle. The only thing you get out of it is nothing.
You get a satisfaction.
There's no result
of being a great participant in Stump the Godfather. Anyway, so Alan is 15 billion.
What choice?
Janelle is 18 billion. The venerable Paul Greenberg is what, 90 billion?
I'm going to crotchety Paul Greenberg. You change it to that.
90 billion.
90 billion.
And our guest, Mike, who I refused to even try to pronounce his last name until I think I've got it. He is in strong at 150 billion. All right. With all that said, the answer to the question of it's expected to be how many billion network devices in 2024? The answer is, if I can only get my Why am I having problems with my mouse?
I have no idea.
Ridiculous. All right, here we go. 27.1 billion.
Janelle wins. She's closest.
And she is the close, and she didn't go over. So,
No.
as Janelle said, Price is Right strategy. She won. But you and wow, Mike,
We were way off.
You guys are.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I hate to say this. I don't trust statistics. You know why? Because all they are an aggregate of other ones.
So
they just aggregate 20 other sources, of which 17 could be completely spurious, and then the other 3 are legit.
Oh, that's you were. Just
I used to get all my gaming, like PC and video gaming stats from these guys, and found out they were way off when I got down to investigating them again.
You know what? This is sort of starting to sound a bit of a sore loser situation here.
Nah, I don't win ever, so what do I care?
All right. Well,
Janelle, I don't lose anything other than my reputation is venerable.
Janelle is this week's winner. Alan came in kind of close. Oh, look, Janelle is like taking a bow for being.
All right.
So, well, thank you,
Janelle. If you're wins, bow, we got you. We got you here.
Stump the Godfather, brought to you by Microsoft Dynamics 365 Copilot.
Janelle, would you like to be Stump the Godmother? Right, we'll just change it over to you.
I don't think
to you from here on.
I don't think that's a good one.
Take over from me. You're not venerable. You haven't reached the age yet, but we can just.
Why don't we just move on?
Yeah, turn it over to Janelle, man. I'm willing to give up the.
You're stuck. Position. You're stuck.
That's the biggest.
You know what else you're stuck with? Although this is a good thing, it's time for the Venerable Paul Greenberg's introduction of today's guest.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've never met Mike actually. I will tell you this. One, when you read Genesys's press release and you read that they acquired a company called Radar, guess who the person of interest becomes? Mike. And I think his name, unlike my original guess at what turned out to be Croatian, my original guess, if you remember, was Hungarian. And I'm pretty sure Mike's name is Hungarian. And
he gave me I saw a thumbs up in the green room.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hungarian. I'm right. Yeah, I knew I was right. I recognized the formation of the name. Now, that said, I think the pronunciation, because there's some silence in here, is Szilagyi or it's Szilagyi. Like that. So in other words, the S isn't really pronounced.
I'm not seeing any proof of that being correct.
And then the Y isn't really heavily pronounced.
I got to come on screen because I'm getting this from our guest. It's
Szilagyi. Oh boy, I'm way off.
Should we just go ahead and bring him on?
No, not yet.
You want to finish?
Yeah.
Right, let me go back to full screen.
I'll put it this way. Again, I haven't met Mike, and I am looking forward to meeting Mike Szilagyi. Okay, I could recognize an Hungarian. I couldn't pronounce it though.
That's okay.
That said, he has. If you actually take a look at the guy's history, it's pretty substantial, and we'll get into it a bit. But he's been around for a couple decades, and he's been always. I think I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm going all the way back. Yeah,
well,
he's always been kind of senior, right? He's been at Genesys for half his career, a little less than half his career. He's accomplished. I mean, I can't wait to meet him because I now know he can help me with my pronunciation of Hungarian, and he can explain to me why Genesys did acquire Radar, because I am really, really interested in finding this one out. I think, like you, Brent, when I saw it, it became immediately interesting because of the type of company Radar is in a world which pretty much, if it isn't AI, nobody cares. So Mike, come on board, come up and okay. So Szilagyi.
Hello, everybody. Yeah. Can everybody hear me?
Szilagyi.
Let's hear him say it. How do you say your name, Mike?
I say it Szilagyi.
Szilagyi. Yeah. Oh, so it's like trilogy. With
I think you're more correct. If I went to Hungary, they would probably say it more like you said it, Szilagyi.
Szilagyi. But
or they hard G, Szilagyi.
Yeah, I mean, I recognize the structure. I mean, that's the only thing I'm not good at speaking languages, but I'm great at recognizing them. Right? But I can't speak them at all.
Well-
I can barely speak English.
Well, we're all on a first name basis here. So welcome, Mike.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's a
for
much
having
better path.
So lot.
Yeah, good to meet
So
you
like,
both. Thanks
no,
for
I got to get that right. So
You know, I've been to a couple of. I went to last year's Genesys event in Denver. I think that was in Denver, right?
It was.
Yeah, it was. That was a really great event. But I didn't have the pleasure of meeting you. So first of all, thanks for joining us, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And yeah, the news. Can you give us a little bit of the scoop on what you guys did, why you did it, and what's it going to mean in the end for your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did way overthink the number of connected devices. I was
Yeah, me
with you,
too.
Paul. I was thinking like security cameras, wearables, television,
Yes.
game stations. Yeah.
And then things that no one person owned, like companies owned dozens of switches, and they're all network devices.
That you guys totally internalized that question. You're thinking just about you guys. Not everybody has as many devices as you guys, apparently.
Well, I know on my home Verizon network, I have 52.
Oh my, okay.
Yeah, televisions, everything. On. Yeah.
Amen. I'm
But
with you.
back to your question. So
You're right.
What's really interesting to us is the contact center. As you said, I've been with Genesys for a while. Prior to that, I was with Interactive Intelligence, which was acquired by Genesys. And our view of the future is that customers are going to be managing the experiences of their customers end to end, and the contact center is a part of that experience management. And in different parts of the world and in different demographics, the social channels are the preferred way of interacting with brands. We see that quite a bit in the Middle East. It's the primary channel there. That's the most thing that we see preferred as the first mechanism. And so we don't want to really dictate how customers can interact with a brand. We want to support them all. So Radar, there's three things that were really, really interesting for us with Radar. Number one is they have access to over 50 social platforms in over 130 different languages.
Wow.
And they're able to do the filtration, understanding what's happening there. And they know if a response is possible on a platform or if a response is necessary, whether it's public or private. So being able to bring that into the contact center and manage that interaction with the brand is priority number one for us. So we think of it as an extension of the channel, and then you can take it public, you can keep it public, or you can take it private and do direct messaging. So, that's first and foremost the primary objective for us with Radar. But secondarily, there's a lot of additional benefits. All of think about the data source of how people are interacting on social platforms, everything that you can learn about them, kind of unencumbered. If you think about a survey going to a customer, you're asking them specific questions and you're going to get maybe some attitudinal data about how they feel about in that moment. But social just has so much attitudinal data out there that we can bring in and make a part of our customer 360 profile view. So we can understand more about who this person is, what their preferences are, what's going on with the brand. And that can drive a lot of our AI experience orchestration as well, which is driving empathy, driving more knowledge, and feeding our AI platform. That's the second interest. The third one is they're doing some pretty cool AI stuff themselves. They have a sentiment. They've trained some models, some Gen AI models around sentiment across all these different languages as well. So it's a modern AI model, and we have sentiment as well. So we're really anxious to bring those two together and expand our sentiment coverage across languages. And they're also starting to move into images and video as well. So understanding, patterns and what's happening there. So they've got that stuff's not GA yet, not part out into the stream, but those are the primary three interests of us in Radar. There's a smaller tail of things as well.
Okay, so two things related to that. First, on 130 languages, is there a translation element in there somewhere, or is that something you're going to provide, or it's not going to be provided and it's going to just be native language? So in other words, social commentary comes into contact center in Hungarian, but the contact center agent who receives it is English speaking for whatever reason. I don't know why they would be or not, but is English speaking. Will there be a translation service? Because I'm assuming it's coming in saying, hi, this is coming from so-and-so. He's using this and it's in this language. And what happens when that gets ingested, so to speak, and then put forward to the contact center?
I think it's a combination of both. There'll be some where the agent and the customer or the AI are speaking the same language, so it'll just flow through naturally. But yeah, they are starting to work on those. Can we take these languages and can we put them into an intermediate language for the agents to help them? I think there's some more R&D that needs to happen there, but it's getting pretty darn good. Okay. But I think that's the transition that's happening.
And the second part is on number 2, which, I mean, one of my favorite products of all time as an analyst was Clarabridge, right? I love Clarabridge. I thought it was way ahead of its time. And this, to be perfectly, one of the things that impressed me about Clarabridge was their ability to not just do sentiment analysis in English, but identify the cultural differences in the languages and then do sentiment analysis based on understanding that when somebody says this in this language, it doesn't mean the same as it means when it's in English as a result. So in other words, it took cultural behavior into account as part of the sentiment analysis it did. And Clarabridge did it in 24 languages really well. And, Qualtrics acquired them. But, and I know me and Ray Wang in particular were huge advocates for the company. And I'm wondering, because you're talking 130 languages here, and I don't know how many. I mean, some of them will have, maybe dialects of a similar culture, but
that's right.
Let's just assume for the sake of it, and I'm making up a number here, much as Statista probably made up their number, and you and I were right. Right. Let's assume there are 75 cultures involved in that 130 languages. Does this, with your AI capabilities, does this account for the cultural differences in terms of identifying the behaviors?
Yeah, that's something that definitely came up when we were discussing with it, and that's how they get really good. So I think you're right, Paul. I mean, that's how they get accurate.
Yeah,
and that's how they become really important tools for the contact center. Yeah, and you're right. They also have, there's a lot of different Asian dialects that they support as well.
Yeah,
so it is a reduced scope of things.
Right.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, but yeah, that is something that is a part of their technology stack.
That's amazing. Because they're literally, the thing that made it so fascinating with Clarabridge is until literally now, I've never heard of another company that went to the extent Clarabridge did. Right? Never. And this is 15 years. And somebody should have come up with the second one. But you guys are the first. Now, here's my other question, and this goes to the sentiment, and this might be a little, overthought, but one of the other things Clarabridge did, which was interesting, was it was able to take the behavioral attributes of the sentiment analysis in the multilingual sense, and then it would break it down. So instead of, how most sentiment analysis, if you look at it now, is positive, somewhat positive, neutral, somewhat negative, 5-point. They were 11-point. So you could identify the difference between irritation and anger, let's say, right? Does this have that capability? Because the 11-point I've never seen reproduced anywhere else, which makes no sense to me that somebody didn't do it. Have these guys done that? And if not,
that one I don't know the answer to. I'll have to see what level of granularity they can produce on their sentiment.
I will promise you this. Take this. I have advised many companies. Take this as free advice. If you don't do it, do it. It makes a gigantic difference in terms of how an agent can respond to a customer. Because the difference between irritation and rage.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
it's not somewhat negative and negative. That doesn't really tell you a whole lot, right? Or 4.3 versus 4.1, right? But 11-point does tell you a lot. So suggestion for your
yeah, I'll take it. I like it. I like it a lot. I know in our own technology stack, we're thinking about what's really working well with generative is if you have somebody that says something along the lines like, I love this company, but I don't like what happened with this. What's the sentiment of that statement?
Right.
You can break that down into 2 pieces and say that, hey, it was positive around what they feel about your company, but it was negative on this transactional thing. So getting that level of granularity is some of the stuff that I see happening. But yeah, I'll definitely figure out how to follow up with you on that one.
Yeah, just look into. I'll tell you, just look into while you get the opportunity, look into the history of Cloudbridge. It's actually worth the time. If you want, I'll put you in touch with the former chairman, Sid Banerjee. He's retired now. He's the guy who created the product. So he's a great guy too. You'll love him.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this. Once you told me that part that really blows me away. To me, that has been you want to talk about the missing context. It's missing. It adds context. And it actually gets closer to understanding real human behavior than typical sentiment analysis ever did. Somewhat like, love, like.
Yeah. Emojis, and what does it mean in all?
Well, people used to get bonuses if they got over 4.0 on their so it's basically a bonus KPI, right? So those 4, not real. It's not a real discussion of what this person really is feeling and thinking. And 11 points had been as close to it, and what you're doing, and the fact that it handles cultural differences on the language part is phenomenal. I truly, it's like really got me excited now.
Good. Yeah, we were really happy with what they were doing and just the additive value that we'll get bringing our two companies together.
Okay. I'm just going to pop this question up or a comment from our buddy Alan. Alan is like on PPN more than you or I are at this point.
I know.
It's kind of interesting. So yesterday I had a conversation with Don Sherman over at Pega. They made an announcement and it was all around kind of how to help enterprises kind of leverage all the data that's all within the walls of the enterprise, how people can actually leverage it and use it in a way that it actually is beneficial at the time of need. So it's like pockets of data that are thrown across the enterprise, kind of under these fiefdoms people have where they control them and they're kind of like, well, I don't want you to have access to it because that takes away from my power. But so we all know there's all sorts of data in the enterprise. Now you talk about all the languages and all the different regions and interactions that are coming from customers, I guess, from the contact center. So when you think about the combination of Radar and Genesys, will it help not only bring in lots of insight or information data, whether it is factual or whether it's empathy or sentiment, all that kind of stuff, but it's coming in from all across the globe, possibly depending on what the customer base is. So it could have multilingual sentiments from this part of the world and languages over here with sentiments over there. This is a way to bring it all together and not only get a better understanding of what's going on with the customer, but I'm assuming it also helps really share the information across the enterprise that they would never have access to because, traditionally enterprise data is it's silo based. And where I'm thinking, where I'm seeing potentially one of the bigger benefits of this Gen AI with all this data is it actually also unlocks all this data and allows people who didn't even know it was there or they just never had access to it to actually have these capabilities with AI, bring it to them in a way that actually is helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. You're speaking my language now, Brent. We acquired a company a couple years ago called Pointillist that was in the journey management, journey orchestration, journey analytics space. And if you look at the foundational elements of what they do, it's all about bringing in data from disparate places, doing some kind of customer identification, like who is this data pertain to, and then visualizing that. What does it look like in aggregate? What does it look like for a customer? And then from there, you move up the stack into AI, into analytics, into insights. And then you can get even proactive on it. Beyond that, once you have the insights, what can I do with respect to next best action? Or, what could I automate out of that? So that's how we think about AI experience orchestration. We think that this data, like you said, I mean, I talk to so many customers, and like you mentioned, their data is locked away somewhere. You just get this image of, okay, it's over there and it's under lock and key and you can't get access to it. And everybody's trying to free the data. And I think that the potential of AI, AI is as good as the data is that it gets in there and the way the models are trained. So unlocking that data has huge potentials for enterprises. And we see that same thing with Radar. We see that attitudinal data that exists out there in word form, in gesture form, in video form, as all things that is a piece of data that's going to drive more insights, more empathy, maybe more knowledge about the customer, more knowledge about the brand. But yeah, it fits right into our view of the future is, and of course, in the contact center, we have a lot of data already that's available and part of that system that I talked to you about. But there's so much rest left in the enterprise to bring in. And that's what Point of List and journey management does for us. And we're going to extend that to Radar as well,
Yeah,
which
you can see it.
Social data.
I mean, look, as everybody who's ever watched this show knows, my favorite product of all time was Thunderhead. I was their chief advisor for like 7 years. Okay. And I need to say, I ran across Point of List and everybody else too. And I, as an analyst, I covered them. And the Radar, I mean, the scenario that says, okay, this customer's on this journey is not following the journey we want them to follow, because it's the buyer's journey and the seller's journey are typically two entirely different things. The seller's journey is the I wish this were the buyer's journey, right? Yeah. And, right. It's just it's like my ideal journey if the buyer does everything I want him to do, right? And it just basically becomes a foundation against what the buyer actually does on their journey. But you'll actually be able to bring in both but not only multilingual, but behavioral data that says, well, maybe that's why they veered over here to there instead of going that way. And you'll say, because this happened and they weren't happy about it, or this happened and they were very happy about it and wanted to jump. Because look, if somebody goes from, let's call it buyer's journey 1, point 1 to buyer's journey point 4, and somebody goes, why'd that happen? It could be because they were furious and they just wanted to get it done, something done fast, or it could be because they were so excited they wanted to get it done fast, right? And what with Radar's acquisition, you'll literally, potentially, of course, literally be able to figure that out, and that is huge.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah, exactly. They'll come to social media to talk about it, to vent, to explain what they just did. I was just on your website and I was trying to do this. And yeah, we think it's a nice way to just kind of bring that attitudinal data back full circle.
I love it.
How do you think this will impact the way that companies hire in the contact center? And because it sounds like the ability with the multilingual and bringing in all the data, regardless of what language it is, and bringing in all the different kinds of attitudinal, empathetic, factual, transactional. With these kinds of systems that you're putting together, it sounds like it'll allow all of that to come together and be easily accessible to agents going forward. So how does that change the way that agents are hired or will be hired? Because it sounds like language barriers go down. Maybe some other kinds of barriers go down that traditionally you had to hire with those in mind.
Yeah.
With these kind of systems, does that remove some of the barriers?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of barriers that are going to get better with generative AI. We sometimes argue, are we at peak agent volume right now? If we're not there today, maybe we're there within a couple years or so. But I think generative AI at Genesys, we think generative AI has the ability to really make the agents' lives better. And let me explain that. Retention and onboarding and having meaningful jobs that contribute to the success of a brand has always been a struggle in the contact center. And we think that's the agent job of the future. We think that we can create co-pilots that will understand because you have all this data, you have conversations, historical conversations that have gone well, you have all this attitudinal data, you have all this behavioral data, you have all these models trained on it specific to your brand. You can get a great co-pilot out of there that can sit right next to an agent. And, and our goal in the future is you can pull somebody off the street and say, you're going to be, interfacing with my customers on day one, because I'm going to have this co-pilot with you that's going to help you, and all of this knowledge that's going to help you. They're going to be doing more meaningful and complex things. They'll have the support system of the tools to make them effective. They'll know more about the customer. They'll have more empathy. Virtual agents are going to get better and start doing a lot of the mundane tasks. So yeah, I think it's going to be it's really going to change the employee experience. And that's why we're still focusing on that at Genesys, is because we think that retaining employees and giving them meaningful work and the tools they need is going to be critical in the future. Because every brand, I don't see maybe, I don't know about my lifetime. We'll see. I think the when is what we can all debate. When is this going to be here? But the when is the debatable part. But, I still think humans are going to be in the loop on a lot of things. But I do think that AI is going to make their jobs more meaningful, more long-term. I mean, I even like to think that there could be a gig workforce for contact centers, where if you, instead of being a moonlight Uber driver, you can be a moonlight contact center, because you can show up, you'll have the support system of the data, the knowledge, and the AI to really be effective on day one for any brand that, has ebbs and flows in their business.
I'll tell you, it's going to change the nature of the body shops and subcontracting, because they're going to have those skills just to get people on board. They think, to your point, you have that gig economy, or right now, somebody's not there. You have to get a temp or somebody to handle it for a day or days. They're going to need to be able to step in, be able to handle whatever it takes to, drive the Uber, so to speak, drive the car, and so to speak. And if they don't have that skill, it's not going to help anymore. And that entire secondary industry is going to be transformed. Years ago, I worked at one, and it was really interesting to see how it worked. Let's just say we did more Lotus Notes. That's how long ago it was. Right.
We're coming up to the top of the hour. So what do you want your customers to know about this acquisition, and when should they feel it, and what should they get from it?
Yeah, great question. One of the things that we really liked about Radar was their architecture and how similarly architected they were to our Genesys Cloud product line, how they run, how they create code, how they write code. And they were on a path to join our App Foundry, which is our marketplace for integration. So we will have something in market within a couple weeks.
Wow.
We'll have a nice integration between Radar and Genesys Cloud along that first point that I mentioned. The social media, they detect something in the social world about something that the brand cares about, and they want to have a conversation with that person. So they can send it over to Genesys Cloud, and we can do all of our routing magic, all of our workforce management, employee agent desktop, and we can facilitate those responses and use them as a gateway to those social media platforms. Before the end of the year, within 6 to 9 months, we expect to have it native on Genesys Cloud platform. And what that will do is it'll expand the reach of it, because we're in 23 locations around the globe with Genesys Cloud. So it'll give us global reach. It'll give us additional scale. It'll make some of these integration points a little more seamless. So I think any of our customers, we're already talking to them ourselves, but anybody that's interested in your business or your geography of the world, social platforms are important for you as a way to connect with your brands. Rest assured, Genesys has a solution for you now.
Well, you know what it's time for, Brent? The ultimate question.
Yeah, Mike, we've thoroughly enjoyed having you on. It's been a really great conversation.
You're not kidding.
But we always ask one last question, and depending on the answer to that, regardless of how much we enjoy this conversation, it could be the last time we ever talk to you. So,
okay.
No pressure or anything. Do you have a favorite NFL team?
Before I answer that, I'll say I do, but let me tell you a little about my history. So I grew up in northern Indiana,
Okay.
in a town called South Bend,
I
about
know it.
80 miles from Chicago.
Notre Dame.
And today I live in Indianapolis, so that's my
Okay.
home base.
Well,
So
Okay.
I would say I'm a split personality between the Bears, Chicago Bears, and the Indianapolis Colts.
No kidding.
Wow.
I mean, you're lucky.
Never had that answer before.
No, there's this. Look, the good news for you is that you passed.
Yes.
Right. It's only one wrong answer, and that's the New England Patriots.
Oh yeah. I think that one. Yeah. As a Colts fan, I would never say that.
Absolutely.
Once you said South Bend, we kind of knew you
We
were.
knew you were okay. We knew we'd be talking to you again.
Now, by the way, both Brent and I have fairly strong connections with sports, and we do have a guy who's in management at the Colts. If you're interested in talking to him, and maybe
Charlie Shin, right?
Yeah, Charlie, exactly. Charlie's like a tech genius, by the way. He ran at Major League Soccer's CX really and engagement for years, and he went to the Colts to run fan engagement. And
nice.
he is brilliant, and he's great. And let's say this: there's oftentimes you get some nice VIP treatment things. If you're interested, we'll get a hold of him for you.
Yeah, I'm always interested in expanding my network. I can't turn down that endorsement of him.
All right,
sure.
Then watch for it. Mutual intro will be coming.
All right, sounds good.
Mike, it's been a pleasure having you.
Yes, it has.
And do your correct answer of that question. We will love to have you back.
Yeah. All right. Hey, it was great meeting you. Thank you both for having me. Appreciate it.
It was great, and congratulations. I was really curious about the acquisition. Now I am pumped about the acquisition because I think that's fantastic actual advancement in where things have to be even more broadly than just you guys. And you guys have really taken a big step in that. And I think it's superb.
Well, thank you. Appreciate the endorsements and the comments.
All right. So on behalf of Mike, I'm not going to say Szilagyi.
You nailed it.
You just nailed it.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and we will see you next week. But before we let you go, we got to say hello to Minnie. Yeah. Now we can
Hey, Minnie. See you soon.